I've managed to climb myself up out of that ravine, which is back that way about 150 meters. It's a little flatter where I find myself, but here again, another trench in front of me. This one's kind of running down the hill, but you can see it right here. The leaves kind of mark it out as you go. And then just zigzags on down the hill. And again, in this terrain, just everywhere is uneven shell hole terrain. There's not any flat ground. Even in perfect conditions here in the mud, it's pretty tiring walking. So to imagine having to be filthy in this mud, lug full kit through this, that would suck without even getting into the danger of combat. The ground here is kind of a white chalk, I guess. So there's plenty of mud from the plant matter, but on the trail ahead you can see it's kind of a white bleached rock stuff. Here's another huge bunker. Give you an idea like what, you know, the ground here really consists of. Another little fortress just kind of coming up out of the woods. So, for my Iraq buddy friends, you'll recognize what I'm looking at, but for those of you that don't know, on this bunker, on the concrete part of this bunker here, and I'm now underneath reinforced concrete that we'd be theoretically safe. Here's the chamber. All these divots are artillery shrapnel hits. So you can imagine they're everywhere. Standing where I am here, you would have been killed. I'm sure that this was caused by more than one shell, but look at this big hole right here. I can imagine an artillery shell coming straight in and detonating right there, and right there's another one, and blasting all of these shrapnel hits into this concrete. You can see just how devastating that would be to a human body. And maybe it was targeted. The battle opened with the German army firing 80,000 shells the first day, and they did it by method of saturation, meaning that they didn't really aim at specific targets. They just wiped out whole zones of this area, which is evident everywhere you look. But then once the battle got underway insofar as infantry advanced, then I'm sure there was more targeted artillery fire. So a bunker like that may have been spotted from the air before the battle started and it was targeted, or maybe as the Germans came up here and attacked it, they started to really concentrate fire on it. Right now I appear to be walking along a trench that supported that bunker there. The trail seems to follow the trench. And then out in front of the trench is just craters and shell holes again, everywhere. I'm still roughly between Fort Vaux and Douaumont, so I'm sure that these concrete pillboxes I've encountered had battle position names, but from the maps I've observed so far, they were simple, like position X1 or O2 or 0 or whatever, not named fortresses. They're simply part of the defensive line here. Here's another one ahead. So what I think I'm observing is that this position here is the left flank observation bunker of the large bunker I just looked at. So you can imagine this is a support trench right here, which would have been built up possibly with overhead cover so that troops could move from that large bunker down to this position here and defend off to the left and look down the hill in front of me. And then they may have had a cannon or machine guns in that bunker, and then that supported the defense of this ridge in front of me. All of it crushed by artillery. This is the end of the trail right here, so I'll head back. On a brighter note, it's made clear by the French Forest Department that these bunkers now offer habitat for things like bats, certain kinds of birds. And I noticed in the Verdun area, in the couple days I've been here, that there are a lot of nighttime birds that are active all night, which is interesting. I'm following marked trails, or more or less. There's bike and walking trails through the area now, but one other thing that occurs to me as I traverse this terrain is that it would be really easy to just get lost out here. And I wonder how hard it really was for company A, B, and C to move from Verdun up into their correct battle positions. And that's probably why the marching and the approach marching took so long, aside from the deadly fire coming in all the time, just randomly. There's also just the challenge of finding your destination and the mass confusion of doing that in the dark with no landmarks, really, with the trees gone. The landmarks might have been the moon, maybe marker stakes, or just simply guides to guide the companies through. I haven't pulled out my compass because of the trails, but I can imagine simply needing to navigate here by azimuth. A young platoon leader may have been told, walk, however many meters or for 3 hours on this azimuth, and then you'll find Captain so-and-so maybe, or the 3rd company, and then they'll put you where you need to go. But if you see this ground, there's not really a trail that's discernible, and it actually makes me wonder if the trails that we now walk most likely are the trails that the burial parties followed after the war to get out to these areas. It makes sense that they've been cleared by EOD, and that they would come out here and go out here into the wasteland and collect the bodies and then take them back up to the cemetery. I'm sure that all of that was a massive effort too, and so it's important to remember the layers of effort that exist on this land. Not just the war, but the massive 50-year construction effort to build these fortresses everywhere in preparation for what the French seemed to know what was coming. And then the fighting for almost 5 years, with one particular year being especially intense, and then reclamation efforts after the war to bring in the dead and create this national military reserve, and then another 100 years of human pilgrimage to get here, people like me just walking the battlefield. I thought I would see more barbed wire and pickets and things like that, but I assume that close to these trails all that stuff's been scavenged by souvenir seekers. There were not tanks yet, at the Battle of Verdun. And so I didn't expect to see anything like that, but it's not been disappointing nonetheless. The terrain itself tells the story.